So my name is Matthew Krause, and I do a number of jobs at the De Ville Gallery. Most of all, I'm the writer for the gallery because my history is in arts journalism and in arts editing for a very big national newspaper for almost 20 years of my life. So I've seen a lot of perspective in terms of artists coming in from the outside and artists trying to make sense of this very complex society. And the De Ville Gallery, situated at Victoria Yards, is a slightly different story. I think that what's fortunate about this is that Bram's work comes into a space that is very concentrated on creating as an endeavor. His work is not just characteristic of the work of South African artists that tends to be, very socio-political and very clearly about the poverty problem in this country, the clash of races and cultures, and all the things that one knows about South African art. Bram's work comes from a sort of like pop idiom, which is really interesting because South Africans haven't really integrated ourselves into the world of pop art as opposed to just looking at pop art as a kind of a lucrative investment. And then when people want to invest, they walk in and they put their money on the table and they get something that looks very ready-made. In terms of like its commercial sensibility. It's glossy, it is brazen, it comes from the northern cultures, the cultures north of the equator. But Bram's work has a really interesting and special twist in it. And basically that is the fact that it is photographic and sculptural at the same time. But also it uses digitally many pop icons. So it's a kind of like a collision of all of these amazing things that we are kind of used to here. And we are kind of getting used to this sort of like pop iconography, slowly but surely. And so what's nice is he combines all of those elements to give us some kind of idea of this bridge between the sort of brutal street that all cities are made of now. Streets of brick and posters being torn down because there are new posters being put up, because there's an old life that is only about half an hour old that needs to be replaced by the new life. And then, of course, the other thing that happens on the bridge is this kind of gentrification. So we know all of these kind of like upmarket brands, whatever they are, whether they're Mickey Mouse or whether they're lingerie brands or whether they are any of the kind of like high-end commercial access points that the rich or the advantaged class have. And his work for me seems to bridge those two entities. So you're looking and you're not quite sure if you're looking at a piece of the city, a piece of a billboard, a portrait of a person, or whether you're looking at an advert or of a model, or is this model posing for the advert or posing for the artist, and what is all the decay around it. So for me that's very, very interesting. But what's interesting to round off in South Africa and in Johannesburg is that we have this collision of the very wealthy with the very poor. And in one drive of 5 kilometers in Johannesburg, you can go from shack towns of poverty-stricken people to enormous luxury. And his work, his sculpture, seems to take both of those entities into account in one frame. You see something that is incredibly lush and colorful and glitters, but at the same time around the edges it's frayed and it's dark and it's decayed. And that is a real reflection of the sort of globalization of the world, where we're all confronting one another from our different vantage points, the rich confronting the poor, the not so privileged confronting the privileged. And that kind of works for me in the work of Bram Reijnders.